be such that you don't hold any resentment inside of you or hatred. You know what happens with resentment and hatred if you hold it inside of you, yeah? You don't know it, you might deny it, but everyone's probably done it at some stage and know I have. And the best way of dealing with it is you just let it go. Yeah, once you come to realize it. But if you hold it, it eats you. And your mind ends up in a very dark corner. And then the next one, he says, الشفقة على الإخوان ومواساة معهم, which means being kind and affectionate towards one another, and comforting and soothing. And then the next one he said was show love and affection to each other. In other words, be kind and gentle. These simple words, yeah, everyone's going to say these type of things, but we always need a reminder. We always forget when it comes to stuff like this. And then again in the narration, the Prophet says, or God says, the ones who love each other for my sake, they deserve my love. And the ones who give what comes to them in abundance deserve my love. The ones who frequent and visit each other for my sake deserve my love. At the moment, we're in a time where people don't visit each other anymore. These things have replaced real interactions. People live in a virtualized world, and they're losing skills, but not only are they losing skills, they're losing part of their hearts in doing so. We're social creatures. And not socializing, it affects your mental well-being. And if they do visit each other, like I said before, it's for their own sakes, isn't it? Yeah. They want something. Sometimes it's for twisted reasons. Sometimes people visit each other because they want to rub something into the other person. We get this a lot in the Asian community. What happens is that there's one auntie, we call them aunties, the elder women, and she has a son who's just done GCSEs, and then the auntie might have a sister or a cousin or another auntie that she knows in the community. Her son's also just done GCSEs. What happens is she finds out that the competing son, he didn't do as well as her son. She goes to visit her and just to say how good her son did. And the focus is always on her son. Be happy for somebody else for a change. As I mentioned to you guys before, I looked into the Alcoholics Anonymous, and the 12 steps programs. One of the things they have in the principles, if you like, is just letting go. Yeah, someone you hate, wish good for them, and that becomes an antidote, they say. Yeah, and things like just let go of your own will. It's a bit, almost airy-fairy terminology, but the kind of things we're saying here, they kind of align to that. There's a guy not too far from here. There's a care home here around the corner. Some of you guys know it. And there used to be an old man that used to come here to this mosque. He used to pray here, and we used to visit him from time to time. And we probably didn't visit him enough as we should have. We're probably guilty of that. And he used to say, nobody comes to see me. My own daughters, my own sons, nobody's interested. They're only interested when they want to talk about their inheritance. And so he had this feeling of loneliness. That feeling of loneliness, nobody deserves that. And you all have parents, and in our religion, in every religion in fact, there's an emphasis on respecting your parents, being there for them. It's inhumane, simply inhumane, to let someone fall into that type of situation. So this, we say, is also part of Futuwwa, that you network and you get on with people and you be affectionate with them. The next one, he says, love the Arabic term of ghuraba, and care for them and attend to them excellently. Now, I wasn't sure how to translate this, but I think here it connotates the poor and the lonely people. So love the poor and the lonely, care for them and attend to them most excellently. And the Prophet said, of the most beloved things to God Most High are the poor and the lonely. So the companions of his asked him, who they? So he replied, the ones who they'll be gathered on the day of judgment towards Isa, towards Jesus. They'll be gathered around him, and basically these people, they don't have anything apart from their faith. In the Quran, there's a verse which says, polite conversation with the needy and extending tolerance are far better than charity followed by injuring the person's heart. And there's an incident that the Imam gives that, so this is given by Shaykh al-Islam in his book. He says, when Hani, who was another companion and the messenger, he came with a delegation of his tribe. So back in them days, in the Arabs, they used to come from various parts with their tribes to visit the Prophet. So the Prophet gave them an audience, and then one of them asked, "O Messenger of God, direct me towards something that makes paradise my destiny." So then he said, "Talk pleasantly and spread the salutation of peace and feed people." And this reminded me, so once I was walking in Manchester City Centre, right? We all know there's a lot of homeless people around. So one of the homeless guys who was sitting there, he was asking people for change. My turn came, and he asked me, and I turned around, looked at him, I said, and I think it was afternoon or something, so I probably said, good afternoon, as good rich people do, and I said, "No, sorry man, I don't have any change, and I hope you have a good day." He was so happy. And I was like, "What? I don't understand." And he's like, "Well, you're the only person the whole day that's actually turned around and looked at me and acknowledged that someone that I'm talking to you." So even small things like this. The next one, he says, it's from Futuwwa, this idea of chivalry, to speak truthfully and honor and amana. And amana is something which has been entrusted to you. Could be someone's giving you something to look after. Could be, someone's giving you some money because they find it dangerous saving themselves. It happens. So if that happens, you have to guard it. And the Prophet said, if you have 4 qualities, then it doesn't matter, even if you lose everything else in the world. One is that you protect what's entrusted to you. You speak truthfully and you have a noble character. And you eat of lawful sustenance. Then the next one, he says, don't wear the garb of the Sufi before you have qualified for it by cleansing your heart. Now this doesn't go over your head once I've said it. I have to go read over this a few times to take something out of it. He says that Al-Hasan al-Basri was another noble person, saintly person. And he learned from, who did he learn from? Anyone know? So Ali, the disputes about that we really did. Ali was Ali. Nobody knows Ali was
son-in-law, cousin of the Prophet.
son-in-law, cousin of the Prophet. Zayn was thinking, is he really asking that type of a question? Everybody knows that. So he said, and Hassan said that he heard the Messenger of Allah say, don't wear the woolen mantle of total devotion until your heart's clean. Because if you wear these clothes while your knowledge and practice is deficient, then Al-Jabbar, which means the absolute compeller of the heavens, will whip them off your back. Now, what I'm taking out here is the clothes that can symbolize taking on a persona. Because what happens here is, when, let's say you graduate, you wear a cloak, and when they graduate in a master's, they have a different type of cloak, and when when they have PhD, they have another different type. And it's like that in the churches, it's like that in the synagogues, it's like that in the madrasas, in the Islamic systems. When they qualify as a scholar, they they put a cloak on them and they have this big turban, and they put that on. And sometimes when people get these symbolic things, they think they've achieved something. They think, I'm so great, I have this cloak on my back, and I have this roll of paper that says that I have a PhD. Now with the Sufis are basically the people who we say devote themselves to this type of path of chivalry, and the path of righteousness. Unfortunately, that's something also which is very easy to fake. All you have to do is wear some clothes and people think you're a made man. So we see loads of people faking piety, right? Fake it to be holy men. Now, this particular narration, he uses the word the compeller, which is one of the attributes of God. And what this means is that the compeller is one whose will always prevails over others. And nothing escapes the compeller's grasp. And in absolute sense, the compeller is God. So he compels each thing and nothing compels him. That's our belief, yeah. So Imam Ghazali says this. And in these two regards, he has no competitor either. So the indication is, by drawing attention to this type of attribute, is like a warning to people. If you're going to fake something like this, then this is what you've got to do. You're not going to get away from the grasp of God. Who do you think you can fool? And when that happens, your fakeness will be laid bare, and there's nothing you could do about it. We've all seen fakers in every walk of life. There's a lot of them in Tai Chi rolling it. No, I'm not saying anything.
I'm listening.
Next one, I'm just going to do two more. This is number 26. It says, be gracious in entertaining and honor your guests. It says, the Prophet said, whoever believes in God on the last day, then be gracious to his guests. And then related to this, number 27 was, eat after your guests have eaten, or eat after they've started eating. So you start afterwards. It was a form of respect. And it's narrated that when the Prophet would eat with others, he was the last to begin eating. You know what happens sometimes? People have a gathering. You see it here, right? In Ramadan, we open a fast, in the mosques with everyone. People come, they put the trays down. And there's only one guy, right, next to you. You take the whole tray and you put most of it into his plate, and then gives the person next to him scraps. It's not the way it works. That type of person has to ask what they're actually getting out of fasting on the month of Ramadan. Any thoughts, guys?